Breaking news this morning, an earthquake hit parts of East Tennessee this morning just after 9. The USGS reports that it was a 4.1 magnitude earthquake. Now, Aaron, can you share a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, Sam. The truth of it is that a magnitude of 4.1 is just rather rare to see occur in East Tennessee. We actually see likely hundreds of earthquakes in East Tennessee each year, but they are not near magnitude 4.1 and often go undetected. So to see an earthquake of this magnitude unexpectedly really is a shocker to many. The last time we saw a magnitude similar to this was in December of 2018, so it's been quite some years, and we are believing that this might go down in record as one of the top 5 strongest earthquakes felt here in East Tennessee. And we are also hearing, right, Sam, that it's throughout Atlanta. People are giving reports and lots of states nearby.
That is absolutely right. We've had a lot of viewers write in and share video with us. We're going to show that video in a second. But Aaron touched on something that's really interesting, is that this was the strongest magnitude we felt in quite a while, but it is not rare to feel earthquakes here in East Tennessee. Now, we do have earthquakes that are often below 2.5 magnitude, and honestly, we don't usually report those, but we do have 2.3, 2, 2.5, all of those reported since 2022. Now, we do have our meteorologist, Cassie Nall. She is currently out of the state, but she is able to join us for a phone call to talk a little bit more about this. So we're going to take her on the phone and ask her a few questions. Cassie, are you there?
I am. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Cassie. Man, you leave the state and some crazy things have happened.
Yeah, and it starts shaking around. And by the way, welcome Erin for her first day on air.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, I mean, I think the joke is this has been quite a shock to me. Not something we were really expecting to happen today.
Well, tell me, what do you guys want to know about earthquakes in East Tennessee?
Absolutely. So we've talked a little bit about how this is not necessarily rare to have an earthquake, but maybe something of this magnitude is a little out of the ordinary. Can you kind of talk to us about that?
Yes, I can. So in East Tennessee, we live in the East Tennessee seismic zone. So these are ancient fault lines because the Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest mountains in the entire world. And so the fault lines aren't really traceable in these really, really old rocks. So we can't attribute earthquakes in East Tennessee to any specific single fault like you can in California to the San Andreas Fault. But we do have hundreds of earthquakes each year here in East Tennessee along those little ancient fault lines. As Sam was mentioning just a few minutes ago, most of them are very weak and so weak that you actually can't feel them. So we typically don't report about them. However, we have had some stronger quakes in our history here in East Tennessee. In fact, the strongest one on record was a 4.7 magnitude earthquake back in 1973 near Maryville and Alcoa. That one did do a little bit of damage there. We had a 4.5 in 1928 in Greenville, and then most recently, compared to the magnitude that we had today, we had a 4.4 magnitude in 2018 in Decatur. We also felt the shaking from that one in the Knoxville area. I remember feeling that one. And we also had a 3.8 magnitude in 2020 up in the La Follette area on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Also remember feeling that one. So earthquakes are not uncommon, but strong earthquakes like the one we had today are. In fact, this one is tied for the 5th strongest on record in East Tennessee at 4.1 magnitude. The shaking was felt all across our viewing area and even as far south as into parts of North Georgia. Thankfully, we haven't had any reports of any damage in our area so far, Sam.
That is absolutely right. And, you know, you mentioned that there haven't been any reports of damage. And we did say that we'd reached out to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. And I want to read part of our most recent communication with Corporal Bengal. Now, he says that he spoke with dispatch and they did receive a couple calls from residents who were just asking questions to see if they could confirm it was an earthquake. He says there's not been any damage, injuries, or anything else reported thus far. Now, Cassie, for people who maybe felt this earthquake and are concerned, unsure of what to do, if we do feel an earthquake, what are the best steps to take?
Well, we don't, again, typically have ones that are strong enough to cause damage, but when we get something above about a 3.5, we'll start to feel it, and above a 4 is when you're going to notice some things shaking around. So, like, objects may fall off of shelves and small things like that. The best thing that you can do is try to get into a sturdy doorway or maybe under a table or something like that, just in case anything that is falling, you know, isn't gonna fall on you necessarily. But again, this isn't a common problem in our area, so we don't want people to worry too much about it. today, like I said, was one of the top 5 strongest we've ever had recorded, and we did okay. So that's the good news.
Absolutely, yes. Again, no damage reported so far. We are keeping an eye out for that. But again, Loudoun County is where this originated, and we heard from LCSO, the sheriff's office there, that there has been no damage, no major issues, so nothing to be too concerned about. And the National Weather Service in Morristown did say that for anyone wondering about aftershocks, our fellow scientists at the USGS forecast only 23% chance to see a magnitude 3 or higher aftershock within the week. They say, remember, the scale is logarithmic, so a 3.0 is 10 times weaker than a 4.0, like what we experienced